Welcome to Empowered by Iron, the podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We are your hosts, Dr. Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fuel Nutrition Coaching and Dr. Mary Morton, scientist and weightlifter. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Empowered by Iron. If you are here from YouTube, hey, what's up? You should subscribe. That would be super cool. I think we are planning some awesome videos in the future regarding female strength and research, and hopefully some really good information for you guys in the future.
For sure.
We also have some exciting things going on. We can't divulge too much information, but
yeah,
expect some big things and some other, what would you say, opportunities for learning?
Opportunities for learning, for sure.
For sure.
That's what I would call it.
Well, I think
we sound really cryptic.
Well, I think here's the thing. So like there are so many resources out there, but I think that they're so general in terms of their resourceability, right? And females are not general.
For sure.
We are females. We have boobs. We have a vagina, right? And
hormones.
Different
hormones in men.
And, you know, that doesn't mean we can't strength train differently than men, but that means we have things that are different for us than they are men.
For sure. Well, and that's the whole reason we started this podcast, is because there weren't a lot of resources that focused on evidence-based information for women. And for women that are strength athletes.
Right.
Those two things that was lacking. That was missing. So
and I think we've talked about this before. If you're listening, we've talked about how so many studies talk about like they either have obese populations they're looking at, or they're talking about like general health and fitness, which is important.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily apply to us.
Right. So like when we're reading research for different training methods or for nutrition, and you look at the population of the people that were in the study, and it's like people that are either untrained or that don't care about what happens to their performance during that period of time. It's like if it's a caloric deficit study or a diet study, right? They aren't looking at our population in a lot of them. There are definitely studies coming out that are very good for strength athletes, and we can apply that information to women. But and some that are looking, like a few that look at women's strength athletes in particular, but not a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's kind of a, I don't want to call it a rarity, but it is.
Right. Well, and so I get super frustrated because I feel like I see all of these awesome infographics on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And I read it. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to go to the study and actually read the whole study. And I look at it and I'm like, no, that doesn't apply to us. And it frustrates me because I think that sometimes people miss that part. And they think that it does apply to them, or they're trying to make it apply to people that it maybe doesn't. It really frustrates me.
Well, I remember talking with my old boss about this. The researchers, whatever research they have, they want to sell it. They're selling it to the journal. That's how they get it published. Right. And so whenever you read abstracts and you're like, oh my God, this sounds too good to be true. It is. I think you and I are thinking of a research article in particular that hopefully we'll be going over very soon for you guys. That is a great case of this. It gives some very big promises in the beginning, but when you actually look into it, you recognize it's not really a fair study
for sure,
or a well-executed study.
Yeah, for sure. So if you just read the abstract, you're like,
sounds
oh,
amazing.
This is really cool. And then when you really dig into it, you're like, okay, well, this was super biased, number one.
It's not structured well.
Right.
The results aren't even what they say the results were are not what the results were. Like they are, but their interpretation of it is like, well, this is a positive thing. But if you look at it from a strength athlete perspective, you're like,
it's not a positive thing.
Oh my God, no. Okay, we got totally sidetracked. But basically all we're trying to say is we've got some really cool things coming for you that we hope will get you guys learning and be able to actually be the resource that we want to be for you guys.
Yep. We want to be a really trusted resource.
And a podcast. We can do both.
We are.
That's what we're going to do. So today we wanted to talk about two different things. First thing we wanted to talk about was habits.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing we want to talk about is taking responsibility, which is probably one of my pet peeves. My mom has a saying. She says, if you're pointing a finger at someone, you have 3 pointing back at you. And when you give away...
Are you missing a finger?
A couple.
I'd be like, that's full. Oh, no. Okay, but your thumb doesn't count.
Your thumb doesn't count as a finger. But then
I'm such an asshole. Okay.
I bring you into my house.
If you point a finger at someone, you've got 3 pointing back at you. Right. So what is your responsibility?
Right. And then the other thing is when you give up, when you blame someone else for your problem,
yes,
you lose all control to fix it.
Yes.
But we're starting with habits.
We're starting with habits.
Because it's the new year and it's now February. And
right.
As resolutioner or not a resolutioner, you're now at the point that, well, we should have some new habits, or we maybe wanted to break some habits. Yep. And we wanted to talk about these because habits themselves are not easy to make or break.
Right.
Think about brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah.
Like teeth brushing. When you were little, your parents, did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? And it was the most annoying thing.
Right.
But now as an adult, for me personally, if I don't brush my teeth in the morning, I can feel it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gross.
I always brush my teeth. Please don't think I don't. But like, you know, when you first wake up, it's that feeling of like,
oh, yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
For sure. So it's a habit. You just do it. You don't think about it.
Right.
For sure.
But as we're trying to create new habits, they're not easy. And then you hear a lot on social media about the 21-day habit. Like it's a magical number. Once you hit 21 days, you have a habit.
Right. So psychology does say that's like the minimum amount of time to create a habit.
The minimum.
And that's but it's not magical.
No. And I think the way that it's sold is people, they say, okay, if I can hit this for 21 days, it'll be a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be true, but that doesn't mean that after on day 22, all of a sudden you'll magically wake up and it'll be effortless.
Right.
You wake up and you're like, okay, well, I've got to go hit my macros today. Cool. No problem. It may be something that even for years to come,
mm-hmm.
you have to remind yourself of it on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Especially if it's something that is like a really big departure from what you used to do, right? What your habit used to be.
Right.
And so I can think of numerous habits that I have right now, things that I have actively worked to change in my life and do. And some of them are, I would say they're not, I don't even know if they're habits yet. And I've maybe been doing them for years. They're still something that take constant focus and constant attention to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and your brain typically goes to whatever's comfortable. Like your brain doesn't want your body to be in a state of stress, and learning a new skill can be a state of stress.
For sure.
That's why, you know, when you're studying, you have so many distractions because your brain's like, this isn't fun. I'm not having a good time. Right. But with the whole habit thing, if you're trying to break a habit, that's almost just as difficult. Like, I don't want to watch TV every day after dinner. What else can we do? Watching TV is so easy, though.
It is.
And
it's
it
totally
takes
easy.
your brain into a state of relaxation.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about things.
Right.
It's like the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
But having to break that habit is going to take probably for the rest of your life constantly thinking, okay, well, it's after dinner. I know I want to go watch TV, but I'm going to go do this instead.
Right. Like read a book.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on this, not spending as much time on my phone in the evening. A lot of times I am corresponding with clients in the evening time.
Or me.
What?
Or me.
Or you conspiring to take over the world, whatever. But I try to not spend very much time on social media. I used to be able to just get like lost in social media, just scrolling, not even really paying attention. It was, there's not a lot of TV shows that I like. So to me, that was like my TV, right? Like just like constantly scrolling, seeing new information.
Right.
And
it's
it's like, it really is. And I realize like I get the screen time report on my phone, like, oh my gosh. I mean, I run 2 businesses basically off of my phone. So I do have a lot of screen time with that, but I can definitely get rid of a couple of hours a day of screen time.
Oh, I know. It's insane.
I know. And so I've tried to like set aside time. Like I'm going to read a book for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And some days it is hard. And I love reading. Even if it's a book I love, it's takes conscious effort to say, don't pick up your phone, sit down and read the book. And it's not as mentally stimulating as your Instagram feed, right?
Well, and your brain wants to be distracted. I find myself, and I think this just is a statement to the time that we're in. My brain feels like it needs to be distracted at all times.
Right.
So if I'm
busy,
going on
it needs to be busy.
Right. If I'm going on a walk, I need to listen to a podcast. If I'm just sitting on the couch with my cats, maybe watching TV, I need to like have something else going. If I'm making dinner, I need to be like scrolling. Like my brain, it's been so trained over just the last 4 years that I've had social media.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. I have not had social media that long. It has to be, it just feels like it needs to be distracted because that's the habit.
Right.
And breaking that habit is so, I feel you on the book thing. So
Yeah.
I have the same thing. Like I want to read 3 books a month. Like that's what I want to do. But then in the evening, it's like, okay, well, I could read right now. Or just all of a sudden mindlessly scroll Instagram for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It is. It really is. There's I watched some TV show about the addiction of screens and that constant new information coming into your brain, and it just like constantly switching gears, and how that's really, really bad for our brains. This is why things like meditation are really important, to like just center yourself and calm your brain and get out of that. But then what's really funny is like I have a meditation app that I am in love with, and I'm like, this is like another thing on my phone, but at any rate, I at least don't have to look at it. I just let it play. But technology has really come into play with our habits.
Yeah, and you can use, much like anything, you can use it as your advantage or at a disadvantage. Yes. You can go to your phone. I know when I unlock my phone, immediately I go to Instagram. Like I have to learn how to break that habit. And one thing that I've noticed that helps me is with the new iPhone update, you have the ability to limit your app.
Yes.
It's also really easy to not limit yourself because it only asks you, oh, you're on a time limit. Would you like to only be on it for 15 more minutes, or do you want to ignore the limit for the day? So it's just like a question I have to tap. But then it's one more thing to be like, do I need to be on this?
Right.
And so that's helpful. But in terms of like training and nutrition, like training, we, for the most part, I think most of us enjoy training. Like it's our time to be there.
Right.
You know, that we have accessory works that maybe not all of us do, but the habits of training, it's true.
Don't skip your accessory work.
I've done it. It happens. I don't, it's not a good excuse that I shouldn't do it, but I've done it. But in terms of like nutrition, I feel like that's where a lot of our main habits we need to fix.
Yeah.
And so when you're coming at these habits, recognize that it's 21 days is not a magic. There is no magic sauce. There is no magic number, especially with nutrition, because you're ever changing, you're ever evolving, and you're learning.
Right. And your needs are going to be different from day to day, potentially.
Right. If you're cutting, if you're trying to eat for strength, or if you're coming up close to a meet, or if it's meat day, things are going to change. But as long as you have something in the back of your mind saying, okay, I need to do this for nutrition wise, you know, I think you'll be able to hit your habits.
Right. I also think I have an alarm that goes off on my phone at 8:30 every night to remind me to do mobility work. Because I will just forget for days on end. And I was super good about it for months. And then somehow I got into the habit of, I would like push, cancel out my alarm and then be like, yeah, I'll get to it in a little bit. And then I just forget. And so then my new habit became just turning my alarm off and ignoring it completely. And then finally I was just like, well, I'm not even doing this. And I just turned off the alarm on my phone. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what am I doing? I need to be doing that mobility work, and that is the time I set aside to do that. It's so easy to just ignore habits, or habits that you think have been ingrained, to just quickly, they go by the wayside. Or you go on a trip and you come home, and whatever it was that you were like kind of had in a good groove, like this has happened to all of us, right? We're in a good groove with training and nutrition and mobility. When you go on vacation and we come home, and then it's all like falling apart, and it's hard to get back into that groove. And I go over this with my nutrition clients all the time. Like they're so frustrated when they come home and just feel like, I can't get back into that groove. It's so hard. And with time, you will, but you have to constantly work at it. So I totally get what you're saying. Like, it's no magic. 21 days is not magic.
No. And then you're basically starting at ground zero. You think you'll come back and like, okay, I'll get right back into what I was doing. It'll be fine. You're at ground zero. Your brain has now gone back to maybe not ground zero, but level 1, right?
Yeah.
Your brain's basically gone back to, this is what's easy. I don't want to do that difficult thing anymore.
Yep. It takes the path of least resistance for sure.
You need to be patient. I think we talk about this a lot with our Eat for Strength clients.
Yep.
It's like, you have to be patient with yourself. You are not going to be, an elite athlete day 1. It's going to take time.
It takes a lot of work.
You're not going to get your nutrition day 1. It's going to take you months. And for me, it's taken me years.
Right.
But if every day I say to myself, I've done my best, or maybe I had a bad day, like, it's okay. Tomorrow will be better. I will do as good or better tomorrow. Just be patient with yourself. Habits are not easy to make or break.
Right.
So don't beat yourself up. I think.
Patience, consistency, and effort.
I think that's true. Now, speaking of effort, I think this is a good segue into our second topic.
Taking responsibility.
All right. So the second thing we want to talk about, which is a big pet peeve of mine, honestly.
Yeah.
Is taking responsibility.
Taking responsibility isn't your pet peeve. People not taking responsibility is your pet peeve.
Good point. Yeah. So listen, in life, there are things that happen that are simply 1000% out of our control.
For sure.
Car accidents happen. Disease happens. Like, in those moments, if someone wants to blame the world, you blame whoever you want, because whatever happened is very unfair to you.
Sure.
But the majority of things in our lives that we complain about or goals that we haven't hit are simply our fault.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot with strength training and nutrition.
For sure.
And people not taking responsibility for what they've done or what they're not doing.
For sure.
Yeah. So, like, for example, training. There's a reason there are elite athletes. There's a reason those athletes are elite. It's because they have taken responsibility for literally everything in their life. Their recovery, their training, their nutrition, their social life. Nothing is going to get in the way of that goal, whatever it is, their goal.
It's their priority, and they make it a priority, and they sacrifice a lot of things in order to make it a priority.
Right. So when you get people who are fairly, I wouldn't even, high level or mid level, talking about how, well, my trainer, my coach is programming me this, and that's why I'm not getting stronger. Well, the majority of the time, if you're on a program, you're going to get stronger. And so, like, as I said before, my mom has this quote where if you blame someone else for what's happened in your life or the situation you're in, you lose control to fix it.
Yes.
Now, if you recognize this is you, that you're looking at your life and you're like, well, this is this person's fault, and I don't do this because of this person or this situation, take a fucking step back. Like, you need to look in the mirror.
Yeah. Right. Well, so we can't control the things necessarily that happen in our lives, but we can control how we respond to those things. And that is where a lot of growth happens. And that is where you start to realize, I say with my nutrition clients, when they're like, I can't do this, I can't. I'm like, you can't or you won't.
Right.
Because there's a difference. There's a really big difference. You might think you can't do something, but really you can. It just takes a little different mindset than what you're used to. It takes a different habit than what you're used to. So are you saying that physically you cannot do this? Or are you saying that you are unwilling to put in the effort to figure out how to make it work? Huge difference.
Exactly. And this is a conversation I have with my coach, like, all the time. I remember when she first became my coach, I went and visited them, and we were talking about money. We were talking about, for those of you who don't know me or who aren't very close to me personally, I'm a big stickler on money. I find it very liberating to be financially independent. And I will preach it to you, anyone who listens. So we were just talking about money and some of the clients she had and how they always didn't have the money to pay her. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, they say they can't afford it. But you look at these people and they had new shoes, they had new gym bags, they had new virus gear. Virus is big for weightlifting. Right. And I told her, I said, no, Jilly, it's not that they don't have the money. It's that they don't have the priority to pay you.
Right.
And so there's so many things with life. I mean, I recognize it with my nutrition. I will have weeks that nutrition is my number one priority. Training and nutrition, priority. And I am on it. Like, you know, those things are equal and I do everything I need to do. And then there are weeks that it's not a priority, whether it's mentally I'm just not there or I've kind of come back into some bad eating disorder habits, but I have to recognize that it's me.
Yeah, you're in control of it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's so empowering. People, yes. I don't think people recognize how empowering it is to be saying, you know what? Yeah, my nutrition's fucked up. It's my fault. Now what?
Right. Or even like, I'm in a job that I hate.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just complaining about it day in and day out or complaining about your coworkers or your situation, I mean, I understand that it can be difficult to change jobs and do all that, but start thinking about what responsibility can you take? What can you find another job? Can you, like, anytime we hate what's going on in our life, it's up to us to figure a way out of it, or to say, I accept this.
Yes.
You can do that too. You can say, my nutrition is fucked and I accept that right now.
And that's
because
fine.
It's not a priority. That's okay.
Yes. Just don't complain about it.
Right. You just have to recognize where you're at and take responsibility for where you're at.
Mm-hmm. And that applies to literally everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have more to add on that. I could just go on my soapbox for forever about that. You will never experience growth in your life until you start taking responsibility for things. And we're not saying if you're in a shitty job and you're like, I can't change my job, it sucks. That's true, but you are in control of your attitude. If your job sucks, if your coworkers suck, so what? You have a sucky job. Focus on things outside of your job.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do outside of your job that makes you happy, that you can really bring a good attitude towards? I get it. Like, I remember in my PhD, I was horribly sad and depressed and angry all the time when I'd go to work. And it wasn't until I shifted my focus out and be like, okay, so I don't love what I'm doing, but I need to finish. What else can I focus on that makes me happy?
Yeah, what else can I bring into my life that brings me joy?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not feeling horribly depressed and hopeless all the time while I'm doing this thing that I have to do, that I have to finish.
Mm-hmm. And I need to stop complaining because it's really bringing down the morale of my house.
Right.
I can't fix it. I'm stuck. So there's no point in complaining. I can make it into a funny story, you know?
Right.
You'll never guess what so-and-so did today, but I can't complain about what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's one thing. Oh my gosh. Talk about you. That just got under my skin. I'm getting all worked up. Complaining. Stop complaining. No one wants to hear you complain. No one, I promise you. And if all you do is ever complain, have you ever known those people that all they do is complain?
Yeah, I'm not friends with them anymore.
And right, exactly. They are like, it's like a cancer in your life. And it's you constantly hearing this person complain and complain and complain. And it's like, do something about it or shut up. Like, stop, because it brings down, if you're doing it at work, it brings down your coworkers. If you're doing it at home, it brings down your family. If you're doing it at the gym, it affects your training partners. Like, it's this constant negativity that is so difficult. If you can stop it, like, just stop. Don't complain for a day. I promise you, your mindset's going to start to change.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're kind of, those people are expecting someone else to empathize or sympathize with them.
Yes.
And if you come to me and you complain once or twice and then you change your situation, you fix whatever it was, I will listen to you the next time you complain, because I recognize you just needed someone to bounce something off of.
Yes.
But if you're coming to me and complaining about the same damn thing every week, I'm going to stop listening, or I'm going to be harsh. I've done this to friends where I'm like, listen, you haven't changed anything. Either change it or shut up, because like, I can't listen to this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then some people, it's not the same thing all the time. They complain about something every time you see them, like something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that complaining has become their habit. And that's just how they communicate with people is instead of like saying, hey, this really cool thing happened to me, or asking them about their day, they tell you about something bad that happened to them. And it's like constant.
Well, it's kind of like that. It's like when you're dating someone and all they want to do is fight. And when you really think about it, it's like that's how they get a rise out of you. That's how they get a reaction. Those people who are complaining, they just want to get a reaction out of you, and they don't think that they can get a good reaction out of you, but it comes from a positive place or an observatory place, you know?
Yeah.
I saw this thing. Isn't that weird? Instead of, I can't believe what this person did today. It's horrible.
Right.
So I think going into this whole year, you know, you're going to have habits you want to change. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be things you need to take responsibility for. So if you find that things aren't changing in your life and you find yourself blaming other people or your situation, take a step back and see what you can change, see what you can edit.
Yep.
Like, man, this life is too short to be that way.
Right. And then take responsibility.
Take responsibility. I'm telling you, you will be so empowered when you said, that's my problem. Okay, now I can fix it.
I totally
And that doesn't
agree.
mean you can't bring people on your team and say, okay, this is my problem. I get that I'm broken.
Right.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
People are more inclined to do that than if you say, this is your fault. You need to fix it. And then Kristen's like, no, I'm not Mary. I can't fix you. But if I say, hey, I have this little issue, what do you think? She's more inclined to give me advice, and I'm probably more inclined to listen because I'm not coming from a place of, well, she's just out to get me. This is her fault. She wants to ruin me. I'm coming from a place of, she's my friend. She cares. Mm-hmm. You're my friend, right?
Totally your friend.
Okay, good. Guys, you heard it here on the podcast. All right. I think that's all I have.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I think we've ranted enough.
It was a bit of a rant.
As we've said, we have some really exciting things coming for you guys shortly. I think we're talking bigger changes than what we originally thought. So expect to be shocked. Or maybe not. We don't know. We're very excited. So those of you who don't know, I'm currently unemployed, so this is my full-time job. So be prepared for some great things.
We have some fun stuff coming up. Really fun, I think.
So as always, follow us on Instagram at Empowered by Iron. Go check out our Facebook group page, Women in Strength Athlete Resource. We're actually going to be doing some really cool things on that.
Yes.
Speaking of research, in our Facebook group page, speaking of research, Kristen and I are very passionate about it. And so we're going to start sharing some research articles with all the ladies there.
Yes.
Hopefully,
we love science. We love research. We love reading about research and picking apart the methods, basically.
That's my favorite thing. So if you're not a part of that and you want to learn, go there. It's completely 100% free.
Yep.
We're also going to be adding some like Q&As where you guys can ask questions and we can answer them on the Facebook group page via video. And then we also, after a last episode or a couple of episodes ago, where we talked about cutting.
When we talked about the mindset for cutting.
Kind of sparked a little thing in us.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of interest. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I totally needed to hear that. Yeah, a lot of people really interested in like the science of cutting. Mm-hmm. So can I tell them what we're doing?
Yes.
We are taking our Eat for Strength course and applying cutting principles to eating for strength, which because you guys know we don't advocate cutting unless you need to. So there's a few reasons why you might need to, but we recognize that a lot of people want to cut. And so we want to make sure, because we are strength athletes first, that when you do a cut, that you are retaining as much of your strength as absolutely possible. So we're applying our Eat for Strength methods to our cut methods.
Yep.
And combining it into a 10-week course.
Yeah. Which will be
super
part of
exciting.
the thing that we're going to be launching.
Yeah. So that should be coming up soon.
Soon.
Within a month, maybe.
In a month or so. We'll keep
March-ish.
you guys updated on how that goes.
Yeah.
Okay. As always, if you have questions, you can always email us at empoweredbyiron@gmail.com. I think that's all. Until next time. Bye, ladies.
Bye.